So we've said interest, many scholars. What about the verb? What if I changed it to simple past? The gender category in Russian evoked the interest of many scholars. Does that change it? Am I still claiming centrality? What do you think? If I just say it evoked instead of has evoked.
It's in the past.
No connection to present.
Exactly. Yeah, in that case, if I use the simple past, it's not really claiming centrality. It's kind of just telling you something about the past. It's telling you a fact about the past. But if it's not connected to the present, then it's not connected to my research. It's not connected to anything that's important now, right? So I guess in English, right, you don't, kind of this construction won't really exist. The perfect in Russian is very different than the perfect in English. It's really not the same thing at all. So it's important to show that kind of past-present connection. If I just talk about the past, it's not aktuально, it's not relevant. But the second I connect the past and the present, it's relevant. It's relevant to now. So that, I think, is very important, to note verb tense in these moves. In like a method section, what would you expect to see?
Past maybe, yes. So
Yeah, simple past. First we boiled the water, then we added the acid, then we did something. But here, I really need to have that connection of previous research, other scholars, to myself, to my research, to this very moment. So it's very important to notice the present perfect. Okay. In the next one, we see something different. So I didn't notice this author making too many topic generalizations. So, right, not all of these might be included. Right, you could do 3 of them, you could do 2 of them, you could just pick one. But she did review items of previous research. And again, I put in bold kind of the elements of this that I thought that I could recycle into my own writing. Initially, Petro stressed some such and some such. He expressed the idea that X, Y, and Z. He also asserted the very important thought that blank, right? So it doesn't matter to me what these thoughts were. I'm not reading the article for information, I'm reading it for language. Later, Sherba and Vinogradov and then Jacobson showed something about whatever he's researching. And according to someone, blah, blah, blah. So what I have here is I've left out what they said. It's not important to me right now. And I've just included maybe adverbs, verbs, and some kind of determiners, right? Some general language, functional language, right? Not the content, but the language that is kind of, I don't know, like holding the the foundation for the content. And so I can recycle this. Obviously, I would have to change the names to whatever I'm using, but you could see how I could make a paragraph out of this now. Initially, someone stressed that monkeys could never play chess against humans. He expressed the idea that no matter how much training they received, they would just bite the chess pieces and not play chess properly. Right? So I could put any content in there, no matter how crazy it was. And what tense do we notice in this example?
Can you repeat the question?
What tense is she using?
Past simple.
Yeah, past simple. And why do you think she's using past simple?
Because we talk about the definite actions that took place in the past.
Yeah, we're talking about things that other people did in the past, right? And so we're kind of telling a little story here, right? The first person who researched this did this. Then later, some other people thought
actions
this.
followed each other in the past.
Yeah, so we're telling a little story. Maybe Petro was the first person to research this topic, and then most recently Telia researched it. And you'll actually see that to kind of confirm this hypothesis, we start out with 1936, 1957, well, 1986, right? So we are kind of going through time and telling the story of how this topic was researched in the past. And so simple past is very appropriate for that. All right, moving on to the next task. So we've established the general topic, why it's important, who researched it before, what they found. And now we want to make our place like a new question about this topic, or something that needs to be investigated. The establishing a niche, right? You guys know what a niche is? It's like a small corner, like, you know. You guys? Yeah.
We have the
You
same
know the
word.
word niche?
Yeah, we have
Oh,
the
you
same
have the
word.
same word. You know?
Nisha.
Nisha.
I didn't know that. Well, I learned a new Russian word, so that's good. Oh, well, that's fantastic. I won't explain that ever again, then. I'll feel like an idiot. So this author chose to counterclaim. Oh, I'm sorry. No. You might choose to counterclaim, indicate a gap, raise a question, or continue the tradition. So let's see, what did she do? While the gender category in closely related Ukrainian has attracted less attention, fewer works have been devoted to comparative analysis of, and clearly comparative analysis of whatever she's going to analyze, right? So which one of these do you think she's doing? I should put this word in bold, while, because this is an important word, right? While, it's showing
I'm
contrast.
touching upon a new question, or maybe
Is it-
comparing.
So we have, look at counterclaiming, right? She's saying the past was wrong and she's going to set it right. Indicating a gap, something's missing. Yeah, I think she's indicating a gap. Why do you think that? What words indicate that? I mean, I know I kind of,
Less attention,
yeah.
fewer words.
Fewer words, and what tense is she using?
Present perfect.
We've gone back to present perfect, and why have we gone back to present perfect?
Because it's connected with the present.
Yeah, exactly, because now she's bringing back her research. So here she was telling a story of what some other people did. Here she needs to clearly make the connection between the past and the present. Present perfect is like very important in these introductions. You'll see. And also this contrast word while. Right? It's attracted less attention. Fewer works have been devoted, right, to comparative analysis of this, but it's an important topic, so I'm going to now give it the attention it deserves. That's the idea. Alright, and now occupying the niche. So this author doesn't announce her findings. It's not an experimental paper. She's analyzing the text from a translated short story, I think of Oscar Wilde. So she's not doing an experiment. So she chooses to outline the purpose of her article and kind of just announce what her research is about. And you'll notice that what did she use that we were just talking about? I argue that the grammatical structure of Russian Ukrainian, and usually says something about that. At the same time, for the purpose of this study, I will investigate nouns that indicate X.
She uses functional language.
She uses functional language, right? I argue that,
I'm
right? So she's just directly telling you what will be in the paper, and she's referring to herself. She could say, it is argued that, but why? Because I think, especially in papers that are kind of, maybe this is kind of on the border of linguistics and literature, right? Because she's studying a piece of literature, but she's taking like a linguistic perspective of looking at gender markers. It's not experimental. So I think everyone knows. It would be kind of, there's no point in pretending that it's not subjective, right? So why, like, why, like, put on a mask or something? It's a really good Russian word. I don't think we have a word like this in English. Why pretend, you know? We can, yeah, but pretend doesn't have the same zing. I don't know. I like pizza. It's a good word. Everybody knows that this is fairly subjective. It's really okay to use first person, right? You're not fooling anyone by using the passive. And another thing that I think maybe non-first language English speakers or people who aren't in kind of an American, British university or some English-speaking university maybe don't realize is that using the first person isn't just about drawing attention to yourself. It's not just about like claiming that you did this research. I think people have that like myth. You know, and people from like languages that don't use it a lot think that like they shouldn't use it because it's drawing attention to themselves. That's not the only function. I mean, okay, it might be partially a function. It could also be about avoiding the passive. True. But it also kind of functions as a hedging device. Is hedging a familiar word? No. So hedging is like maybe when you're not 100% sure about something.
Unsure.
So you want to show a certain level, and it could be varying levels of not just uncertainty, but maybe like you don't want to make your claim too strong.
Not really sure.
Right. So instead of saying
Supposedly, yeah,
kind of. So instead of saying, but there's varying degrees of it. So instead of saying monkeys are certainly smarter than humans, right? Because then people could easily say that's not true. I might say monkeys may be smarter than humans, because no one can really say that's not true. Because I mean, it's possible. It might not be very likely. I could say it is possible that monkeys are smarter than humans. Right, so I could show different degrees of like, am I 90% sure? Am I 80% sure? Am I 60% sure? And why would we do this in academic writing? Because you don't want to overclaim, right? If your results only show that you can be like 80% sure, right? You don't have results that show 100%. You don't want to sound like you think 100%, because then people who read your paper will say you don't know how to interpret the statistics, or you're making too strong a claim, you don't have the evidence. So you want to make sure that whatever language you use to make your claim is balanced with the amount of evidence that you have, or the amount of objectivity, maybe the amount of certainty. So using I can kind of work in this way, right? If you say I think, right, and you use some verb of like thinking or feeling, something like that, I think, I believe, I argue, right? It's kind of showing like this is my argument, my analysis, my opinion. Because she can't show like you can't make a statement about literature and prove it, really. You can argue for it.
Maybe use author or researcher
Mm-hmm.
as substitution of I.
What do you
Author argue, the researcher argue.
The author, yeah. You could do that. I would say like in certain disciplines is probably more common. So there's kind of like a continuum, right? In like a hard science, something that's very experimental, very quantitative, right? Like, I don't know, chemistry maybe, or
Nice.
experimental, maybe math or applied mathematics. You're more likely to see authors avoiding first person.
So, and in this case, you refer to yourself in the third person singular. Yes? You say a
You
researcher
could,
meaning
yeah.
you? Yes?
So,
Yeah.
it's possible, but I would say like in
A researcher or
linguistics,
this article, right?
linguistics,
States or claims.
or you could use the passive, like it is asserted that. I think in some disciplines that sounds a little strange, right? Like in this, like a literature paper or kind of qualitative linguistics paper, it would sound kind of funny to use that because it's not experimental, it's not quantitative. So why would you like kind of pretend that it is or something with the language? But that kind of thing is a lot more common in. I don't know about economics actually, it'll be interesting to look at. So we can look at that today and see about economics articles. But I would expect like in a shipbuilding, design, engineering article, that would be very common to say, it is asserted that something. The author believes instead of saying I.
Or you know what? Another way to avoid this I for Ukrainian or Russian speaking culture is to say this article describes
Yeah.
or this article reviews.
And that's a common way to avoid it in English as well. Right? So she could have said, this article argues that the grammatical, she could have said that too. That would be pretty normal. She chose to use I. And I think more and more authors are choosing, like feeling it's okay to use the first person, especially in kind of less quantitative experimental disciplines.
Maybe mix I, author,
Yeah, you could
this
mix them.
article.
Certainly, you could mix them, because you don't want to say I in every sentence. That sounds very strange also. Yeah. Alright, so okay. So before we go on to discussion and conclusion, that's all I have for introduction. Let's try it out. So, you'll see in the resources folder go back here, there are folders that have different disciplines, linguistics, literature, linguistics, there's also, oh no, applied linguistics.
Apply.
There's applied linguistics and language pedagogy. So find the folder that you like the best, that you're most interested in. I'll go with applied linguistics. And just, I don't know, just browse the articles and kind of pick one. I mean, there's no like rules for which one you have to pick. Try one out. If it looks like, oh, I don't think that's very interesting, pick a different one. So just choose some article. That you think might be interesting. So you click shipbuilding. Unless you would like to study anything else. I don't have the titles, but just, I don't know which one is most interesting. Just find one you think is interesting. Oh, you already looked at that. Fantastic. Right, and so then whatever article you choose, you should download it. And you could pick two if you want, you don't have to just pick one. Again, these are here for you, you have access to them. Oh, but one, you guys want to pick don't pick the same article. Because then you can share. If you get, one of you will get information from one article, one will get it from the other, and you can compare. So pick a different article than the person next to you. If you're, pick a different article than the person. Oh, you guys all like that one. I know that was popular. That they like that. So just if you're sitting with someone who has the same discipline as you, pick two different articles, because then you'll be able to share the information that you find. It'll be like you get 2 for 1.
Yeah, I asked you for that, because I understand the title. Who teaches what?
Like what we discussed yesterday. So students who are learning to be English language teachers.
English language teaching
Students. Yeah. So and there are like little dashes here. I think would make it easier. The students of English language teaching.
who are going to be teachers.
Yeah, exactly. How they perceive computer-assisted language learning. It's like teachers in training. I think they should put a little dash here. English language teaching students, because then it would be like one adjective.
Even teaching students, I wouldn't guess that it's students.
It's like a participle use as an adjective.
Yeah, I understand,
Yeah, yeah.
but participle shows that the action is done by this person. Like boiling water which boils, so teaching students.
I think what tips me off is the possessive here.
The article is video.
Yeah, that's okay. No, that's okay. You don't have to convert it. Besides, all these articles are already in the corpus. But today we won't need that. I mean, you can use it if you want to, but we'll just be reading that by hand. We can. Unfortunately, there's no machine that can do rhetorical analysis.